Hello students, welcome to the live session of Excel Academy for accounts of CS Executive. So today we are discussing both the accounts which is there for old syllabus as well as the new syllabus. So in the new syllabus it's now called corporate and management accounting, whereas in the old syllabus we had company accounts and auditing practices. So Jyoti is online. Hello Jyoti. If you have any questions regarding the subject, please do ask those questions as part of the live chat. So let us briefly look at the syllabus once, then we'll take the questions. So when it comes to old scheme, that is the existing scheme, so we had company accounts as part of module 2, that is paper 5. So along with that we also had auditing for 30 marks. So that is 70 marks for accounts and remaining 30 for the auditing part. So with regard to the important chapters, I would say in this case, your basic understanding of accounts matters a lot, because few of the chapters are totally dependent on your understanding of journal entries and ledger accounts. That is the stuff which you would have studied either in foundation or in let's say first year PUC or 11th standard. So based on that, you'll have to decide which topics to pick and which topics to ignore at your own peril, I would say. So Arvind, Krishna, good evening. Then we have Hari Krishna, good evening, hi. Then Vignesh, be unique. Shashank, hello. Be unique, ask, hi sir, when will you come for foundation? I would say very soon. Wait for it, please. Shashank, Prachi, hello everybody. So let us start with few of the chapters which are there in accounts. Introduction to financial accounting, basic introduction. This is the new syllabus. If we go back to the old syllabus, theoretical framework, mostly the basic stuff of accounting concepts, principles, conventions, all those things. Then we have okay, so one of the most important, I will just take up the topics based on what I feel is most frequently asked in the exam. There are certain chapters which you can never leave for exam or never leave for choice. So those chapters are these: issue of shares, issue of debentures including redemption of debentures. Then we have consolidated financial statements, amalgamation of companies including internal reconstruction and valuation. If you study these chapters, these 4 to 5 chapters, I am very sure you'll be able to score good marks or at least decent marks in company accounts, because bulk of the questions for the exam will come from these chapters. Of course, there will be 5 marks or 6 marks question asked from small or minor chapters, but these are the most important chapters from which questions will be asked for sure. For example, issue of shares, one problem will be there. Sometimes pro rata problem will be there asked. Sometimes they will ask a very simple problem. Issue of debentures, again a very important chapter. There will be a couple of questions at least with regard to debentures. Sometimes they will ask debenture redemption problem that is involving sinking fund, or sometimes you will be asked simple problems like problems involving ex interest and cum interest concepts. So these two chapters are actually very easy to understand if you are thorough with your basics, because what we have in those two chapters are nothing but journal entries and ledger accounts. So if you know the basics, then you can easily understand and you don't have to put lots of effort to understand those two chapters. Whereas consolidation and amalgamation, those are not so easy chapters but not so difficult either, because if you look at the past few question papers of the institute, you can observe that most of the adjustments which are asked are kind of repeated. It's not as if some very difficult adjustment will be there as part of your question paper. So it is really very easy to solve consolidation problem. Sometimes what they will do in consolidation is they will, instead of asking consolidated balance sheet, once in a while they will ask consolidated P&L as well, but that is actually much more easier. Now coming back to the important chapters, then comes amalgamation. By the way, consolidation is based completely on AS 21 and amalgamation on AS 14. So you should remember the stuff which is there in those ASS, or you just have to look at the study material. As long as you study whatever is there in the study material, it's more than sufficient. So the one book which you can really trust blindly in case of accounts would be the study material released by the institute. That is more than sufficient, because we have few illustrations there. Of course, there are printing mistakes here and there, but if you can ignore them, so you can easily use the material and solve the problems which are given in the study material. Sometimes they'll ask those questions directly from the study material. There are many others joining for the live session. So let us take few questions. Before that, let me cover the rest of the syllabus. So then we have accounting standards. Someone already asked if accounting standards are important. Again, there will be one question for sure from accounting standards. There is no way they will leave that. But most often they will ask general questions like what is the objective of accounting standard, then what is the duty of accounting standards board. But it's not as if they will only ask general questions. Here and there they have asked specific accounting standard questions as well. But for that 5 marks, you will have to read more than 200-300 pages, because you never know which accounting standard the institute might ask. So if you haven't touched accounting standards yet, I would say please don't start reading accounting standards now, because it would be very difficult for you to cover all the accounting standards in 20-30 days. So it's practically very difficult, and you won't remember anything if you are reading that for the first time. So if you haven't touched accounting standards, I would say skip it. Just go through the previous examination question papers for that topic and be well versed with that. Then we have valuation. Valuation is again a very important chapter, because valuation has both valuation of goodwill as well as shares, and this is purely a non-accounting related chapter. That means there is no journal entry, there is no ledger account involved in this chapter. So all we do is calculate stuff, so based on arithmetic. So as long as you are able to remember the formula and the method, that is the procedure to calculate or value the goodwill or calculate the value of share, then you can easily score marks in this chapter as well. Okay, there are a few specific subject based questions. I will take it up. Okay, moving on with the auditing part. In case of auditing, the material is not really very helpful. There is too much to study, especially the chapters like internal control, review of internal control. It's, frankly speaking, very boring stuff. What I would suggest is, please download the practice manual which is there for accounts and auditing, and just look at the auditing portion. Don't look at the accounting portion, because very rarely they will ask questions from practice manual for accounts. Whereas for auditing, most of the questions which are asked in the final exam is from the practice manual which is released by the institute. There are hardly about 60 pages. Okay, if possible, print it and make sure you start reading that from today itself, so that at least you will be sure of some 25 marks in auditing. On top of practice manual, I would say also study question bank, that is suggested questions. So that way you will make sure that you cover the ground properly, because sometimes they have asked repeated questions when it comes to auditing. Like they would have asked that question in June 2016 attempt. Again, they might ask the same question in June 2017 attempt. So you never know. There are questions which are being repeated in auditing. So I would say practice manual plus past guideline answers or suggested answers released by the institute. You will have to at least go through some 5 to 6 suggested answers. That is the question and answers of 5 to 6 previous attempts. That way you will be able to cover bulk of the portions, so you don't have to worry much about leaving few topics here and there. So no need to study the study material for auditing. For accounts, you'll have to strictly go by the study material. I'm sure by now you would have studied the study material. So if not, at least practice the problems given in the material. That will give you confidence, and then you can easily work out the problems in the final exam. That is with regard to the accounting and auditing practices. Company accounts, that is there in the old syllabus. Any new syllabus students here by chance? That is there in module 2 for the new syllabus. Now it's called corporate and management accounting. corporate, okay, let's take the questions now. What about accounting standard? Samiksha, I think I answered your question. If you haven't studied, don't start studying now. Can you please tell us chapters that are important to answer first compulsory question, as many of them are theory also? Okay, Purna, in this case, it's not as if they will ask theory questions specifically only from select few chapters. What I would suggest is go through the accounts question paper of the past 5 to 6 attempts and be well versed with the theory questions from those 5 to 6 question papers. At least then you'll make sure that you have covered some ground, if not studied everything which is there for taking. So that would be the best thing to do for answering theory questions in accounts. Once again, same method. Get the guideline answers which is there in the institute. You can visit any chapter, or even it's available online from the CS website. You can get it, just order it now. So, and study them compulsorily. There is no way you can not study them and then appear for the exam, because unless you study or work out the problems in the guideline answers, how will you get to know what kind of questions will appear in the final exam? Then what else? Okay. Rohan, what are the important topics in costing? And I can just pass from studying only theory and through Suchita scanner. Costing, we'll do a separate live session for that, Rohan. I think this is costing of the old syllabus which you are asking about. We can skip accounting standards. Yes, Samiksha, you can skip now. Okay, Shweta Shah asks a specific doubt. What is the order to write off miscellaneous expenditure? I'm asking which reserve we should use first to write off. Okay, in this case, miscellaneous expenditure is not an asset, actually it is a fictitious asset. What you can do is, as and when funds are available, write it off using profit and loss account. Okay, if there are sufficient profits in a year, use that profits and write off miscellaneous expenditure completely. So, is corporate financial reporting important? Okay, sometimes they will ask theory questions, and if I'm not mistaken, they have also asked questions based on value added statement from the same chapter. So if you haven't studied, I would say study. It won't take much time. It's a very easy chapter. You won't take more than 2-3 hours to finish it off. So you can do that, I guess. That means don't leave that, study, because if they ask questions from that chapter, that is corporate financial reporting, it will be a very easy question. So you don't have to worry too much about answering questions of that chapter. So chapters to read from accounting part to answer theory questions. That's what, Purna, as I answered already. So I would suggest go through the previous exam papers. Is accounting standards have heavy weightage? Any practical questions will be asked from accounting standards? Practical questions very rarely, but they will ask like questions like short notes on AS 22 or AS 21 and things like that. But it's very difficult to predict questions from accounting standards. They can ask from any of those standards. So I would say if you haven't studied, you can please skip it. No point in wasting time now. Thank you for asking, Kumar. Am I feeling good? I'm okay now. It's okay. I'm fine. Thank you. What about consolidation of account? Can we expect question on consolidation of profit and loss account? Okay. Satya Prakash Lakhera. The thing is, very rarely institute asks questions based on consolidated profit and loss account. But if I'm not mistaken, in December 2017 attempt, they asked a question based on consolidated profit and loss account. So it is very unlikely that they will again do the same thing in this December attempt. So you might expect a question from consolidated balance sheet, but I would suggest go through the consolidated profit and loss account problem which is there in the institute material. So that is more than sufficient for you to understand the format of consolidated P&L. In fact, if you look at the guideline answers of the institute for that attempt, what they have done is they have used both the horizontal method as well as the vertical method for solving that problem. So you can use any of those two methods if you get a question based on consolidated P&L. Highly unlikely, but you never know with the institute. Excuse me. Shweta, sure. Sir, should we write off by using P&L or securities premium, capital reserve? Which reserve we should use? See, when it comes to using of reserve for writing off miscellaneous expenditure, I would say, how did you get that miscellaneous expenditure? If it is based on pre-incorporation expenses, then I would say please write it off using P&L reserves. Okay, because securities premium is a what can we say, restricted reserve. We cannot use it for everything. So make sure it is one of those 5 purposes mentioned. So otherwise you will be violating the Companies Act. How would I start accounts? My attempt is June 2019 new syllabus. Rishikesh, in that case, I would say start from the study material itself. That is the best thing to do. There are many problems, especially in the new syllabus. You can easily go through those chapters. If I have to recall the chapters in new syllabus, so we have Introduction to Financial Accounting, Corporate Accounting, Share Capital, Debentures, pretty much the same thing which we had for old syllabus. So not a big deal of difference, but still, if you have already studied for the old syllabus and you have now switched over to new syllabus, you shouldn't worry too much, because this accounts is more or less the new one, a combination of 70% of old accounts and 30% of the old costing which you had. So start from the study material, please, Rishikesh. Akshata Shah, I don't understand sinking fund journal entries, redemption of debenture, old syllabus. Okay. I will do, it's a very fairly deep concept. What I would do is, Akshata, I will take it up as a revision topic, because I will have to cover from the beginning. So I'll make note of it. Can I skip liquidation chapter? I haven't studied anything till now. Samiksha, liquidation is a fairly easy chapter. I'm not so sure whether a question from liquidation chapter was asked in the previous attempt. So based on that, you may take that risk, but still it's a really very easy chapter. There's nothing much to do. All you have to do is remember the liquidator statement of account and statement of affairs format. As long as you remember the format, then you can easily solve any problem based on liquidation. And also there is something known as list B contributories. That is also very easy stuff. If you devote half a day for liquidation, I'm very sure you'll be well versed with the entire chapter. If you have that much of time, I would suggest please take a look at it once at least. Shruti asks, how to cover debentures chapter? I find sinking fund method tough. Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. Sinking fund is tough according to few. It might be. Let's do one thing. I will take it up in a revision class, because it is fairly exhaustive. I cannot do that now. Can you please cover consolidation one basic sum with all possible adjustments like bonus and all? Of course, we'll do that. Akshata, thanks for the suggestion. Then what else do we have? Okay. Excuse me. I'm just looking at the auditing practice manual. What we have is very few questions from each chapter. So what I would suggest is stick to the format given in the practice manual. So what they have done is they have answered in points wise. For example, state how reliability of audit evidence gets affected by types of audit evidences. So what they have done is they have just listed 4 points. So no need to elaborate, because you will be writing this particular division or section for 5 marks. That means every question carries only 5 marks. Don't write too many points. Even if you remember also, please don't go beyond a page. If your handwriting is of normal size, 3/4 of a page for a 5 marks question should be sufficient. Maximum is you can go up to 1 page. So beyond that, you will be repeating stuff or writing stuff which would be irrelevant, because writing theory requires a lot of time. If you take too much of time writing theory, then you will lose time to answer the practical questions. So that way, please keep in mind that you will have limited time to solve the auditing questions. I would suggest about 40 minutes roughly, 30 minutes actually, 10 minutes like bonus time if you have that much time. So 40 minutes, not more than 40 minutes for auditing, because you'll have to answer only 6 questions. Each question carries 5 marks. And the first question there will be again compulsory. And in the second question, you'll have to write either 6 or 6A. So just like in accounts, you have internal choice here. So pick whichever you find it easier. And one more thing, when you are selecting questions for theory, be it auditing or accounts or any other chapter, any other subject for that matter, select those questions which are easy to answer. For example, if given a choice between write a short note on something and explain the differences between topic A and topic B, I would definitely take up the distinguish answer question, because it's easy to distinguish between topic A and topic B point wise. So all we have to do is write the basis for differentiation and then write about topic A and topic B. That's it. So if you write 5 points or maximum 6, then you can easily be sure of those 5 marks. Whereas if you're answering a question which is of like write a short note on something, that type, then it's difficult to write something in a precise manner. So you'll have to take the route of paragraphs. Then again, it's very difficult to score there. Maximum is you might get 3.5 or 4. So even a single mark matters here. So I would suggest make sure you are aware of all the distinguish between questions, because they will be there in the final exam. Make sure if you see such questions, straight away pick that question and start answering. No need to even think about it. Okay, there are a few more questions here. Sir, latest practice manual of accounts and audit is not available. It's of 2017 December attempt. Can we rely on it? Please suggest how to score 25 to 26 marks in audit. See, practice manual actually was released by institute, if I'm not mistaken, at least a year ago. So you can download the same thing. They have not updated the practice manual, because anyway the syllabus itself is not there now. So you can rely on the same practice manual. There should be about 61 or 62 pages of auditing material. Just print that part of the practice manual and be thorough with those 60 pages. So if you can do that, you can easily score more than 25 marks in auditing. And plus not only practice manual, plus the past 5 to 6 guideline answers. How to sum up CAAP in 1 day before exam? Can you provide proper plan for it? We'll do it closer to the exam. Sir, please tell us theory part of auditing practices and company accounts. Smita Hegde, I think I already answered that part. Please go back and take a look at it. Excuse me. Sir, I have to appear only in accounts and CMSL. Do you suggest I should do accounting standards? Shruti, that means you have already received exemption in ILGL. So you'll have to score CMSL and accounts put together 100. So I would suggest make sure you score at least 16 accounts, because anyway CMSL, it's going by the statistics of the institute, students generally tend to score less in that. So I would suggest you prepare for the practical stuff, that is all the problem related area, and also auditing. Accounting standards take a lot of time to go through all the accounting standards. There is no way we can predict anything. If you have time, then I would say, yeah, please go ahead, because you are writing only 2 papers. Maybe you have time. I think you can take a look at it. Read the institute material. That should be more than sufficient for accounting standards. If I start now, can I pass? I haven't started with the practical just yet. I'm through with the audit part though. Karan, are you writing in December or June? I'm not so sure. So if you're writing in December, I can't say much. Maybe you can, you never know. So how to revise accounting standards and auditing standards? Again, for auditing standards, all I would say is please read those standards which are there in practice manual. Otherwise, no need to go through them. And those which have been asked for the exam earlier. How to revise accounting standards? Once again, same thing. You'll have to read the study material. Since you're asking question about revision, I'm assuming that you have already studied accounting standards part. So in that case, I think you can easily refer to study material. How much marks for theory and practical in accounts? Okay. Roughly speaking, you'll be writing for about 55 marks of practical questions and 45 marks at least of theory part. So that means what? Basically, we can say 50-50. 50 from theory and 50 from practical, because out of that 50, 30 will come from auditing only. And the first question, as someone said earlier, contains mostly theory questions. And that first question, that is question number 1, is compulsory. And it contains 25 marks worth of questions. And out of that, 1 or 2 sometimes will be of practical in nature. Even if you take those 2 out of that 5 questions or 25 marks worth of questions, then you'll still be left with some 10 to 15 marks worth of questions from theory. So again, there will be one more question where it will be completely theory based. So the one with the internal choice, mostly 2A or 2. So in that case also there will be many theory questions. Easily about 50 marks for theory can be attempted if you are good in theory. and 50 for the practicals. That is once based on the problems. How do we get full marks in theory? Stick to the points. That's it. Don't go beyond what is suggested in the material. No need to invent stuff. And if you think you have 5 points, if for example, let's say someone, in the question paper it is asked state something and there are 5 points for that, just write those 5 points. That way you will save time and get good marks as well. No need to explain those 5 points if the question asked is state. Sir, is CMSL live session coming up? You'll be notified regarding that very soon. Sir, please, consolidation and redemption of debentures sinking fund video upload as soon as possible. Sure, definitely we will upload that. Please suggest something. How to do company final accounts chapter, old syllabus. Okay, there are so many adjustments. Is format sufficient? Okay, that is actually a fairly easy chapter. As long as you remember the format in Schedule 3 of the Companies Act, you can easily prepare the balance sheet and financial profit and loss statement. Only thing is, there is one topic there in company final accounts which is slightly important. That is calculation of managerial remuneration according to section 198. So in that case, you'll have to look at the adjustments. Otherwise, it's actually not a very difficult chapter. I will probably take it up as part of the revision class. Okay. I don't think any new syllabus students are there apart from couple of students. Okay, I'm just looking at the syllabus here. Okay, one thing which is really very useful is there are few small topics in the old syllabus which can easily fetch you 5 to 6 marks. For example, underwriting, something which does not involve accounting, if you find accounting difficult, that is. So in that case, all you have to do is remember the format as to what should we take first and what should we deduct from the gross liability thing. So in that case, please try to be well versed with such topics. If you think that you are weak in accounts, if you think you are not able to solve redemption of debentures or consolidation, in such cases you need to have a backup. You have to cover all the remaining chapters for sure. Liquidation, again something which does not involve accounts. So then we have profit prior to incorporation and profit after incorporation. So that is again a very small topic but very interesting, completely based on ratios. So if you study chapters like that, it's not actually a chapter but small units within the chapters. If you are well versed with those ideas or concepts, you can easily score 5 to 6 marks if questions from those chapters are asked. So how and what to study in corporate financial reporting. So economic value added is something which is there in corporate financial reporting. You can look at it. It's completely formula based stuff, and you can even look at value added statement, again completely based on format. Not much of accounting is involved in that chapter. No need to skip actually. Remember the format, you can easily understand. How can I score above 18 accounts? New syllabus, June 19 attempt. Again, Rishikesh, I would say start from now. It's much more easier to score in new syllabus because it's mostly practical oriented subject now. We no longer have auditing there in the new syllabus. All you have to do is be well versed with the problem solving part, because in the new syllabus, if you look at the study material, at the end they have mentioned they have given the question paper. Going by that question paper, most of the questions which are asked there are of practical in nature. Of course, there are a few theory questions as well, but you need to be really well versed with practical questions if you have to score good marks in the new syllabus accounts, because it is partly accounts, that is 60 marks, and partly management accounting for 40 marks. So it will consume a lot of time going by the pattern which the institute has given in the study material. So I would say practice a lot from now itself. Maybe then by the time you face the exam in June, then you can easily avoid wasting of time thinking in the exam hall. Can we make old format for profit and loss account in final account chapter as new for... Sorry, I didn't get your question, Samiksha. You'll have to use the new format, that is Schedule 3 format for the profit and loss statement. Now it's no longer called an account, but it's now a statement according to the new format. I would say stick to the new format, because Institute recommends that we update ourselves with the latest act, so we can't be using the old format for both balance sheet as well as the profit and loss statement. Management accounting is practical or theory? It is actually practical. There are quite a few chapters there. In fact, the valuation chapter which was there in old syllabus accounts has now been shifted to management chapter for some reason. So there are such chapters in management accounting. Most of them are practical chapters only. There are very less theory chapters in management accounting. Sir, accounts paper we are not able to complete it in 3 hours. First adjustment they ask very tricky in 3-4 sums. We get stuck there every time. Okay, this is something which is natural, but the only way to avoid that would be to practice a lot. So you'll have to practice problems from the previous exams. What I would say is, please don't look at the answer first. First of all, take up the question paper or suggested answer and only look at the question part and solve it on your own. Then go back and check the answer if you have solved it correctly or not. Even if you go wrong also, you will remember very well where you have gone wrong. Whereas instead, if you just audit the paper, then you will definitely not remember anything, because you will be studying now a few days before the exam. Then nothing will actually stick, because you will tend to forget such things which you haven't revised a lot. So I would say please solve the problems on your own and then take a look at the answers. Sir, should I use pencil in case of format of accounts or pen? I would say read the instruction please. Generally they will allow use of pencil, so you can use the pencil I guess. But read the instructions also. If they say that you should use only the pen and also the color of pen, sometimes the institute mentions only this color pen should be used, then please stick to the same color, black or blue, whichever color the institute mentions. Consolidation and amalgamation very time consuming. What to do with them? I would suggest don't skip. I know of course it is time consuming, but time consuming only if you are thinking in the exam hall. I would suggest go through those problems, or rather solve those problems now itself. I'm assuming you already studied it once at least, and make sure you are able to solve a consolidated problem within 15 minutes maximum. So same thing with amalgamation. You should not take more than 30 minutes combined, that is amalgamation and consolidation. Usually they will be part of one question. One will be asked for 8 marks, the other will be asked for 7 marks. So that is a very important thing for you to score marks. That is, if you have to really score good marks in accounts, you need to be sure of consolidation and amalgamation, because that is where you can score marks. So if you have solved the problem correctly, you can at least be sure of those 15 marks. And also valuation. Even in case of valuation, you can easily be sure of certain X marks, because it is completely based on format. If you have correctly done, then there is no way the examiner can deduct marks anywhere. Sorry, what is this? Smita Agde, question paper format in our answer sheet. Okay, they have given the old, but even if they have given the old question paper format in the question paper, still use the new format while answering the same. Can you send me the practical questions for new syllabus? Practical questions, Rishikesh Kabra, it is there in your study material. Wait a second, I will just mention the page number. You can just take a look at it. It is in page number 604 of the new syllabus, Corporate and Management Accounting. The heading is Model Test Paper. You can go through that once. It is for 100 marks. Since the institute has not released anything for the new syllabus, I am assuming this would be the format for the final exam as well. At least the old students need not worry about the format of question paper because it's the same since many years. The first question will be compulsory. It will contain 25 marks. Some questions will be based on theory, some will be based on practicals. Then there will be choice, internal choice in the second question, 2 or 2A. Then there's third question, which usually will be a combination of consolidation and amalgamation. And fourth question, it will be based on either liquidation or valuation or underwriting, profit prior to incorporation, so something of that sort. And then we have auditing coming up. The next 3 questions will be that of auditing. So again in auditing there will be internal choice. Fifth question will be compulsory. In fifth question there will be 3 parts, 1, 2, 3 questions. All the 3 would be compulsory. Then sixth question, either you can write 6 or 6A. So there is an internal choice there. And for accounts, in the second question where there is internal choice, there will be one question which will be completely based on theory. So if you are really good in theory, then you can pick it up. Otherwise, I would suggest please select the question which contains practical questions. It's easy to score marks there any day. Akshata, how to score 25 to 26 marks in audit? Practice manual and module sufficient in audit. Old syllabus. Out of chapter, which chapter can we skip? I think you're referring to auditing. In case of auditing, as I said, practice manual and module. No need to read the study module. Please don't read study material for auditing. It's horrible. So what you can do is read the practice manual and the guideline answers. That's more than sufficient. Don't skip anything. It's hardly 60 pages. Why would you skip? Can we write first audit and then company accounts in the answer sheet? Okay, yes, very good question, Pranav. Of course, you can do that. If you are confident of auditing part, you can start with the auditing, that is part B or section B, and then proceed towards accounting part. There is no hard and fast rule that you should first start with accounts only. So you can do that if you are confident about that. Make sure you select that question which you are really confident of, because you'll be creating the impression in the minds of examiner. If you go wrong in the first question itself, they will probably think less of you. Is it necessary to study auditing standards? Only those mentioned in the practice manual. That's more than sufficient. If you cover whole theory and all practical questions for all topics and if you don't solve consolidation amalgamation practical problem, will we be able to score 50 plus in accounts? Riddhi, it's very difficult to score 50 plus if you leave out consolidation and amalgamation, because those two put together carries 15 marks. So those 15 marks, if you have solved the problem correctly, you will be sure of those 15 marks. If you leave it out, you cannot expect this marks with certainty when it comes to theory part. So it's difficult to say you will be able to score 50 plus in accounts if you leave out consolidation and amalgamation part. At least in amalgamation part, you should be well versed with internal reconstruction. So internal reconstruction questions are really very easy. So not that difficult. You can easily score marks there. Raghu, thank you, Raghu. Just looking at the syllabus here. Okay. In case of auditing, someone asked if at all you want to skip something, I would say skip review of internal control. It's not a very important chapter. Even internal control you can skip if there is paucity of time. Otherwise, you can easily cover the entire syllabus, I guess. So that's it. If we don't have any more questions, we will end this session here. Thanks for joining, guys. We'll be again coming up with another subject for the YouTube live session of Excel Academy. So please wait for the notification. Any questions? Okay, there are a couple of more questions. Any revision class for us? Of course, there will be revision classes. We will be updating the channel with revision classes for those topics for which revision classes were requested for. In what order should we revise accounts? What order? Depending on what you have studied. If you have already studied something, I would say pick that for revision, because the chances are there that you will remember that very much than the ones which you are studying afresh. Please guide about the format, since it will take a lot of time. Okay, I will try to cover that as part of revision class. Thank you, Shweta. List B contributor is a concept existing now, as many of them transaction through. Yes, of course, the concept is outdated. Of course, I can pick and choose many concepts which are outdated. For example, in case of issue of shares, no company will allot shares based on installments these days, but still we have such problems. So of course, those concepts are outdated, but still we have as part of our syllabus. If we want to score marks, we'll have to read that even though it's outdated. What percentage of marks of theory from accounting chapters? As I already mentioned, you'll be writing for at least 15 to 20 marks worth of, sometimes more than that, 25 marks worth of answers when it comes to theory part in accounting. Kanaka Nagaraju, I asked paid classes. Sorry, I didn't get your question. Any revision classes for us? The revision classes will be there in okay. In YouTube itself, we want revision classes for paid classes. Okay, we'll get back to you on that, Kanaka. How to revise accounts and audit day before exam. We'll come up with a video close to the exam. Okay, thank you. Any more questions? I guess that's it. Thanks for joining us, guys. See you soon.